Hey guys, Joe Madden here, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast, joined this afternoon by Taylor Mathis, the prop princess. You can find her over at Sports or Superbook Sports. Taylor, how's it going today?
I am doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I had to throw in the prop princess. You have absolutely been killing it this year in props. How are you doing it?
I think it's just my research style that I've started. I did have a pretty down month of July, but I'm starting off really hot in August. I've only lost one play so far this month. So I'm hoping I can keep the hot train going. Right now, baseball's kind of my cup of tea, so it's nice that we're in that season. So let's hope it stays that way.
It is. And you guys, we are going to get to some props for today. But first, Taylor, we're going to have a chat here. Let's hear about your favorite football team. I know you've let us know, but for anyone you watching, who's your team and how excited are you for this upcoming season?
So I'm a gigantic Cowboys fan, which is kind of weird because I'm from Illinois originally and I live in Arizona. So people are always very curious how I became a Cowboys fan. But long story short, my dad is from Iowa. They have no pro team. He grew up, of course, with like 3 TV channels. And he always said, America's team was like the only team on every Sunday. So he grew a fandom for them and he raised me as a Cowboys fan. So I'm excited for this season. I'm hoping we will definitely take the title of the NFC East once again. But, a lot of people like to call it the NFC least because they think that their division is filled with a bunch of losers. But we'll see how things go. The Cowboys lost Amari Cooper, so I'm sad about that. But I think Dak and company will get things done. I know a lot of people are hot on the Eagles going into this season too because they improved so much in the offseason. But I don't think the Cowboys are really going to have a problem with anybody in their division.
Now, what's your thoughts on Dak? Because we saw him come back from that injury. He just played phenomenally back from that injury. Do you have high hopes for him this season and his health?
I definitely do. I think as long as he stays healthy, that the Cowboys are going to be good to go. I say that, though, with a little bit of hesitation, not really because of Dak's health, but it seems that last year during the regular season, the Cowboys put on a great performance, but then we go into the first round of the playoffs and we already lose to the 49ers. Feel like we should have done more damage than that. I was hoping for Super Bowl bound last year, and of course I have the same hopes as a Cowboys fan this year, but we'll see if we're able to get it done. I feel like as a newer generation Cowboys fan, I haven't got to see the success that a lot of older Cowboys fans like my dad has seen. So it's a little bit different for me. I'm used to them losing.
It's a hard one to swallow. They definitely are still known as America's team. You can't forget about the Cowboys when you think football. Do you have a memory as a child watching any of these games with your dad that really sticks out in your head?
Oh, yes, definitely. I would say my favorite memory in regards to the Cowboys was a Cowboys Bears game that he took me to. I'm not sure, probably between the ages of like 10 and 12, maybe somewhere around there. It was at Soldier Field in Chicago. So I've never been to AT&T Stadium. I've been to Dallas a bunch, but I've never got to see the Cowboys play in Texas. So that's on my bucket list. I got to make that happen. But going to that game with him was super fun because my mom grew up a Bears fan. So I had the Bears and the Cowboys. She's now converted to a Cowboys fan now since marrying my dad. They've been together long enough and she's become a huge Cowboys fan. But at the time, she was still kind of a Bears fan, so we had a little bit of rivalry fun between the two of them. So that was a good time, and it was my first memory of getting to see the Cowboys play in person.
Oh, I absolutely love it, Taylor. Do you have any futures right now looking ahead for this season?
So I do like the Cowboys to win the NFC East. Like I was saying, I know people are very hot on the fact that the Eagles are going to be better this year. Not saying they're not going to be. I just don't think they're going to do enough to get it done and beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys have the easiest schedule according to stats this season going into the year. So I think that's going to play in their favor. And when you look at who they've got in the rest of the division, the Commanders went out and got Carson Wentz, which I personally don't see a lot of hype around Carson Wentz. He's been on 3 different teams and he's been in the league for 7 years. I feel like he bounces around a lot. He's never really proven himself. So I don't know what they're going to do there. I think the Giants' biggest thing that they have going on is, of course, all their personnel changes. Daniel Jones, I mean, I sometimes forget who even the starting quarterback of the Giants is. So I like the Cowboys to still win the division. And I would say another futures that I'm really liking is under the wins total for the Chiefs this year. They have one of the most difficult schedules. And I feel like the AFC has their division specifically got extremely better. The Chargers still have Justin Herbert. I think he's only going to improve. And I think the Chargers as a whole only improve this season. The Broncos now have Russell Wilson. That's going to make it more difficult. And the Raiders went out and got Devontae Adams for Derek Carr. So I see them improving as well. Also, they have a new head coach. I just think that the Kansas City Chiefs have a really difficult schedule, and I don't think that they will go over 11 wins. That's Superbook odds. I think it's set at 11 wins minus 140 for them to hit the under on that. So I like that as well.
I absolutely love it. That is one that I have in the books as well, the under for them. I also have the over on the Chargers and the Raiders because, like you, I think both teams have improved so much, are going to have phenomenal seasons. We look at the Raiders, their win total is under what they hit last year. They had so much controversy off the field last year. It's hard for me to believe that they are not going to have a fantastic season as long as they don't have that drama on the field.
I totally agree with you. I'm like, or could there be some weird curse? Watch, they're going to come out this year with no drama. Everything is going to be fine, and they're going to play worse than they did last season. Who knows? The NFL is so unpredictable.
It is. I don't see it happening. I really hope it doesn't. Now, Taylor, you have made a name for yourself in this industry. You're the prop princess for a reason. What advice would you give other females coming into this industry?
Oh, okay. So when it comes to sports betting specifically, I think one of my biggest pieces of advice is to take every opportunity that's pretty much possibly thrown your way. Whether it's something like going on a podcast, making and creating your own content, I think is really important. And I also think like practicing, even if you're not, like I'm saying, making your own content, you're doing it yourself. Getting the on-air reps in the practice, if that's specifically where you want to be, I think is really important. If you don't want to be on air, I think doing your research is a huge thing. Don't just look at what other people are out there putting out there as their picks and articles. For me, I've created my own process that I do every morning when I cap props. And it works for me. Create your own process, do it your own way. But I think doing your own research and being knowledgeable on your own without reading just what everybody else is putting out there is extremely important to kind of carve your own brand in the industry.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Great advice, Sarah. Now, if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what words of advice or motivation would you give yourself at 18?
Well, I think at 18, which a lot of people find this really shocking about me, but at 18, senior in high school, I was very, very shy. I actually got voted shyest in my high school as a superlative. So I was really quiet, and people are like, I don't see that at all. I don't either when I look at myself anymore, because now I'm very bubbly, outgoing, but I was very much in a shell when I was younger. I really lacked a lot of confidence, and I was a huge book nerd in high school as well. So that's like all I really focused on. All I really cared about is my grades. I would say like putting myself out there more when I was 18, opening myself up to being more outgoing towards people. I think I was just so nervous about people not liking me or failing at something that sometimes I would hold myself back. So I would tell myself to put myself out there a little bit more. I did end up changing gears once I got into college. I was like, I'm joining a sorority. I got to put myself out there. I got to do something different than I did in high school. And I did. And it turned out great. Went to school for journalism, and I had to get a lot more open to talking clearly in front of people than I did in high school.
Absolutely. Great advice for yourself back when you were 18. Okay, so we have MLB today. Anything that you're looking at, any of these games, any props in these games? Taylor?
I do like one prop specifically. We're going to go with Alex Manoah over 4.5 strikeouts. This one is pretty juicy at Superbook. You could, I think, play it up even to 5.5, but I think the 4.5 is a pretty much guaranteed bet. He's hit this in 9 out of his last 10, averaging 5.8 strikeouts in those last 10 games. He's faced the Orioles 5 times in his career, and he's had at least 6 strikeouts in all 5 of those games. So that's why I think you could play it up to 5.5 even. The Orioles, they also rank 11th worst K rate in the league right now, 23%. And they have the 9th worst batting average in the league as well at 236. So I like Alex Manoah pitching today against the Orioles for over 4.5 strikeouts. That's going to be my favorite prop of the day.
I love it. You know, I'm a Blue Jays fan. I love my Blue Jays. And Alek Manoah really showing up, especially on the road as of late. I think you're onto a winner here. I'm going to have to tail that.
Thanks. I hope it hits. I'm like, we're doing good right now. I do have one other play that I like too. I'm like a little more iffy on Charlie Morton today for the Braves against the Red Sox. I like him under 2.5 earned runs. He's average. His ERA right now is 4.09, so it's not the best, kind of in the middle. But he's hit this under in 7 out of his last 10, and he's only averaging 1.9 runs in those 10 games. And I also think he's faced Boston earlier this year in May. 0 runs in that game. So I like Charlie Morton today. I feel like the Braves are also coming off a crappy series to the Mets where they lost 4 out of 5. So that does not look good for them. So I'm like, they've really got to step things up. And Boston, you know, I just feel like the Red Sox, some days they're on and then other days they're just completely off. They're a little unpredictable. So we'll see. That's why I'm like, I don't like that play as much. But Charlie Morton, what did I say? Charlie Morton under 2.5 earned runs is another prop that I like.
I love it. What have you got going on at Superbook this week?
Props, of course. We got props. And then I've got a couple more NFL futures that I'm looking at. We're going to do a couple more divisions, a couple more wins totals that I like. I also think I'm going to do something this week, potentially on later half right now of the MLB season. There's only about 54 games left for
crazy.
Yeah, so not very much left. We have like 2 months left of the regular season. I have a couple of futures bets that I like for the last half of the MLB season. Everybody should be looking at the AL Central right now because that is such a tight race between the Guardians, the White Sox, and the Twins. The Twins are only up 1 game right now over the Guardians. So that race is going to be super tight, and I feel like any of those 3 teams could take it.
Do you have an MLB team? I've never asked you this.
Gigantic Cubs fan. Biggest Cubs fan on the planet. I've got nothing exciting to obviously going forward this year, like any personal stake in it for myself because the Cubs are clearly not going to the World Series and we are clearly not going to the playoffs. So I'm like, I got to put my focus on those other MLB teams. I feel like this year going into the season before it even got started, my futures pick to win the World Series was the White Sox. I'm not hot on that anymore. I wouldn't even pick them to win the AL Central. So I'm like, I'm not on that. I feel like a dark horse to win the World Series. I'm going to say it now. I feel like the Mets, they have really good momentum right now. And they're pitching unstoppable with DeGrom coming back. He looks really good. Scherzer's on fire. The only 2 guys that kind of worry me are Carrasco and Taijuan Walker. They're kind of iffy.
Walker has some issues.
Yeah, everybody else, though, in that starting rotation, I mean, their pitching stays like it does, and their offense can stay hot. I think they beat the Reds yesterday 5-1, too. So they're on a roll, and they've really, built some momentum. So I see them as a World Series contender.
Okay, Taylor, it is always great to have you on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Can you tell everyone where to find you and all of the content that you have coming out?
Yes, you can follow me everywhere. All social media platforms is going to be at TMath Sports. And then, of course, give Superbook Sports a follow as well.
Absolutely. Taylor, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a fantastic day and can't wait to have you back on.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.